Hot dogs and mac and cheese. Do you remember when I would come over and the first thing I would always ask for? Hot dogs and Kraft mac and cheese. A simple meal, not the hardest to make, but I absolutely loved it. You never once told me no and always had a stock of hot dogs in the fridge and a cupboard full of Kraft mac and cheese boxes. Do you remember the way Mom would never understand how that was my favorite meal? How she tried to make it so many times, but I would never like it as much as I liked yours? I still to this day do not understand myself, how something so simple could not be replicated. But it can, and you will always be the only one to make it that way. The same goes for your personality, one of a kind, genuine. It cannot be replicated. On the outside, you look like a mean old man, but on the inside, you're a teddy bear. You are cuddly, sweet, and always there as a shoulder to cry on. My papa, a man of many jobs, in the most literal way possible, too. My mom told me how she would travel a lot as a child because of my papa's many jobs. But once she got to a certain age, my papa finally retained a job and they settled in Cuyahoga Falls. My papa worked at a car dealership as a manager, but that was not his only job. My papa's job in the house was to cook. He was an amazing cook. My Grammy wasn't so good at cooking, but then, and still isn't today. She would usually burn all the meals when she tried, but that was okay because my papa was always there to fix it. I would always look forward to going over there and knowing I was going to have an amazing meal. But being 7, I didn't have the same taste for food as the adults did. My concept of amazing was my papa's hot dogs and Kraft mac and cheese. No one made this as well as he did, and to this day, I still haven't found anybody who could make it as well as him either. The same goes for a lot of my papa's cooking. Even though we have recipes for how to make it, it would never taste the way he made it. It will never be as good. My papa worked so well in the kitchen. He would come home from work, and the first thing he would do was make a new recipe for the family to try. Some were good, some not so much. But he loved the process of finding out what worked and what didn't. I'm not completely sure how cooking came about to my papa. Maybe it was passed down to him by his family. Maybe he was just naturally good at it. Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is that he was so good at it. I'm not exactly sure why my papa felt the need to cook all the time, but I kind of got the feeling that it was an escape. My papa and my Grammy didn't always have the best marriage, especially at the beginning. They would fight a lot, and when they would fight, instead of yelling back at her, he would walk into the kitchen and cook. He would erase the fight from his mind and focus on the task of putting food on the table for his family whom he loves. They might fight sometimes, but in reality, what family doesn't fight? My papa always fascinated me. He was a big man, not one that you would exactly expect to see in a kitchen, but his love for cooking was very prominent. You could tell by the way he talked about it. His eyes would always light up, and you could actually get a smile out of him. It was refreshing. This was my papa, a talented cook. Growing up, I was always at my Grammy and Papa's house. Pulling up to the one-story house, I see my papa, as usual, trimming the annoying bushes by the end of the driveway. He would always yell words to them that my mom says I'm not allowed to say. I think it's so silly how he is just yelling at bushes. They can't talk back. As I get out of the car, I walk up to the door, and I am greeted, like always, by 2 amazing dogs, Sassy and Ranger. They jump all over me while I struggle to get into the door, but I don't mind. I love dogs so much, especially these ones. As my Grammy yells at them to get down, I am finally able to walk through the creaky and old sliding door into the outdated kitchen. The kitchen is so much like my Grammy and Papa's style. Old. It has this ugly, yellowed mustard walls and brown cabinets that always seem to need to be fixed. As you walk further into the kitchen, you come to a table that only fits 5 people, with an autumn tablecloth on it to match the weather outside. Walking to the right, you find yourself in the living room. There is 1 couch, a rocking chair, and my papa's recliner. This recliner is strictly papa's, but when I use my puppy dog eyes, he just can't seem to say no to me. It is a faded brown and it is broken in. It is the comfiest recliner I have ever sat in. After sitting around in the recliner, I usually start to get bored or tired of watching the NASCAR race that seems to always be on whenever I am over. And I go to play in my mom's old room. Walking down the hallway, I am greeted by tons of pictures of people in my family. Some I know, some I don't. Walking into my mom's old room that is filled with my papa's old collectible cars, I go to the closet and play with the toys that are about 3 times my age. They are my uncle's old toys and my mom's. Walking into the bathroom, I am greeted by purple. Everything is purple. Everything. I first see the toilet that my papa would howl at the moon when there is a full moon. Strange, I know, but that's just how my papa is. There are also 2 sinks, but I usually can't stay in there long enough because all the purple seems to hurt my head. This house is very small, but it has so much character in it. I'm always reminded of my papa when I'm there, especially when I sit in that recliner. Whenever you saw my papa, he would be in the same attire, a t-shirt, his faded Levi's, and an old pair of outdated Nikes. But he had this specific Old Navy shirt that he wore all the time. It was a gray t-shirt from Old Navy with a blue truck on it. Simple, I know, but it was his favorite. I remember going over there many times and seeing him in that t-shirt. From talking to my mom, I have learned so many things about my papa, like how he loved Spaceballs the movie. My mom and Grammy hated that movie. They still do to this day. But me and my papa always watched it. Even though I was probably too young to watch it, he didn't care, and we wouldn't tell mom or Grammy. Papa had a lead foot, so when we would play hide and seek, he would always try to sneak up on me and scare me, but it never worked. He knew this, but always tried to keep quiet, but it just never worked. The sad thing about my papa is that he absolutely hated Christmas. He grew up in a family that did not care about him and his siblings. They were awful to them, and he hated all family holidays, but Christmas was the one he hated the most. My mom said that there was always a fight Christmas morning, but I told her I never remembered one. Mom said that the fight would happen before we got over to Grammy and Papa's house, and he would put on a happy face for my sister and I. Courtney and I would walk up to the front door of Grammy and Papa's house, and we would walk in, and he would be standing there with arms filled with presents as he yelled Merry Christmas. Looking back on it now, I appreciate him so much for doing that. He hated Christmas, but he loved my sister and I so much he would act like he liked it for us. My Grammy and Papa loved the beach in Disney World very much that they decided to move down to Florida while my mom was living on base with my dad and my sister Courtney. But when my mom and dad moved back to Ohio and had me, Papa and Grammy decided that they could not be that far away from their grandkids, so they moved back to their old house. Papa told Mom that was the best decision he had ever made. Mom and Dad moved back to Barberton, and Grammy and Papa lived in Cuyahoga Falls. We were so close to each other. He never missed anything that me and my sister did, that my sister and I did. He came to our sports and school activities. I remember in the 2nd grade, we had to submit a paper to vote for our favorite teacher, and I chose Mrs. Serkey. Why did I choose her? Because she was there for me when you passed away. She understood why I became quieter and pulled myself away from people. She helped me in ways that I will never stop thanking her for. She won, and I was told that I had to read my paper in front of the whole school, but I couldn't, and neither could my mom, so my principal did. While I stood next to both her and Mrs. Starkey, holding both of their hands, I remember looking at my mom. She was crying. Everyone was crying, except me. I never understood why I didn't cry when my papa passed away. But I didn't. I couldn't. I do remember the day Papa passed away, vividly. I was upstairs in my room, playing with my Barbies. I had just finished my homework, and I was excited to play. The phone rang while I was playing, and being the curious person I am, I went downstairs to see who it was. I remember seeing my mom collapse on the ground crying. I didn't understand why she was so sad, so I asked. She didn't respond to that question, though. All my mom said was, Courtney, Ashley, you're going to Grandma and Grandpa's down the street. I was scared. I wanted to make her feel better, but I didn't know how. Mom dropped Courtney and I off, and we stayed the night there. We also missed the rest of school that week. When my mom finally came to pick us up, she didn't look good at all. She drove us back down the street to our house and sat Court and I down. She told us that Papa passed away. He had a heart attack in his sleep. She said that she was grateful that it was in his sleep so he wasn't in pain. Courtney started to cry, but I didn't. My mom to this day said that she didn't understand why I didn't cry. I asked myself the same thing. I tried to cry. I really did, but the tears just never came. I was only 7 when my papa passed away, so I don't remember his funeral. Mom liked to say that I suppress the memories, but what I do know is everything that my mom told me about it. She said it was filled with love, support, and mostly sadness. We didn't expect Papa to pass away. He was too young. It was so unexpected, but Mom said it was a beautiful October day. The sun was shining, and the temperature was perfect, lighting up the mood. He was buried in his favorite old navy t-shirt with the blue chuck on it, his faded Levi's, and outdated Nikes. Court and I drew pictures for him, and we put them in his casket along with his favorite candy bar, the Three Musketeers, his favorite coffee mug, peanut butter and crackers. After his funeral, we went to Papa's favorite restaurant and told happy stories. Only positive things were said, but Mom said in reality people were only telling happy stories to stop themselves from crying. Papa was a well-respected and loved man. When I asked my mom questions about Papa, the funeral was one thing she didn't want to talk about. She said, "It will always be a difficult subject for me to talk about, but it was happy and filled with great memories and laughter." Mom had always had a rough time after Papa passed, but it has gotten easier for her. She is finally accepting the fact that he is gone and in a happier place. Now the bushes that my papa once used to cuss at have been cut down. The dogs that once used to ambush me at the door passed away shortly after Papa did. But a new member of the family has joined, a beagle mix named Abby. The once outdated kitchen has been redone by Grammy, but her autumn tablecloth still remains. My papa's recliner is the only thing in the living room that has not been touched. I am grateful for that. Even though Grammy could have gotten rid of it because it might cause her sad memories, she didn't because of how much it meant to all of us. This year marks 11 years since my papa passed away. I can officially say that my mom was okay. She handled herself very well. My papa was an amazing man who will never be forgotten and will forever be missed. He is my guardian angel.